Happy Monday! Today I am making these beautiful library pockets and I am using one napkin, book page, whatever you have laying around. Hi everyone, my name is Mary Lou and this is Create Junk Journals with Mary Lou. So today I am going to use this nice pile of library pockets that I created in a much previous video. And I mass made a whole bunch of them so that all I had to do was decorate them and then I could use them again. So let's do that. I do want to build one with you just so you can see how I built it. But after that, I am just going into the ones that I have mass made. So to build these, I want to use one of these avocado dye papers that I have put in my shop, and these are really pretty. And they are very, very much the same color as what my avocado dye is. So, because I know I made all of these out of avocado dye and beet juice, so these are always going to be a little bit pinker than full avocado dye. But that yellow, it's not really a yellow, it's kind of a peachy color that the pages turn. So this is beautiful. So I need a sheet of paper that is 8.5 by 11. So this is 11, this is 8.5. It's a little bit less because I cut the edges off. And then to create the pocket, I am going to need a strip of paper that is 4 inches wide. And I think I want the pretty end. Four inches wide. And this will probably give me 2. I would think, yeah, probably. 4 inches wide. So I'm taking this at 9. I'm going to take around. There we go. So I'll show you that again. I'll make the second one as well. So I need this to be 4 inches. I'll make 2 with you. 4 inches by 9 inches is the strip of paper that we need. Then I'm taking my scoreboard and I'm going to score a 1/4 inch on this side and a 1/4 inch on this side. And a 1/4 inch. Okay. Then I need to fold this or score this again at 4.5. And at 1. And I am taking the prettiest end where I am going to make my, or at 1/2 inch. Let's go at 1/2 inch. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to cut these edges off. And apparently I put my trolley with all my tools really far away from me today. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it at a diagonal right there at the fold line. So I'm going to do the same here. I'm just going to cut this at a diagonal. and then cut right on that score line, just over it. I want it to be gone. And I'm going to take my corner rounder. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this as my corner rounder. So that is my top. Yeah. Then I'm going to fold this in, and I'm going to cut this again at a diagonal, and then I'm just going to cut this in kind of at a slant as well. Like, I'm not cutting it completely straight, because that way it will fit a little easier in the inside. See, you can see it's not completely straight. So I'm going to glue that top part down right away. And stick it down. Then I'm folding this over like that. And I made them little ones today. Sometimes I make them a little bit with a bigger top. This time I made them just a little top. And then I'm folding this over here. So that I have something that I can glue it down with. That is how I make my library pockets. And how I did it is, or how I figured it out, is I took some actual library pockets and measured them and figured it out. I very, very rarely work with measurements. I just kind of just look at something and then I go with my own measurements. There we go. Now I do want that to be a little bit less white. Walnut stain. And then I'm just giving this a little color. Mostly because I don't want it to be, oh gosh, now I'll have walnut stain on everything. Mostly because I just don't want it to be totally white. There we go. So if I want to make them with a little bit of a bigger flap, all I do is when I am scoring it, instead of scoring it at ½ inch, I just score it at 1 inch. So 1 inch. And then I need to score it again at 4.5. And then I need to score it at 1/4 inch from each side. There we go. Again, cut off this piece and this piece. Oops. It helps if you're actually cutting it in the place where it needs to be cut. I saw a line and I was like, yep, right there. No, that's not what it was. Okay, then right here, again, diagonal, diagonal, and then we're just cutting this just on the inside of the score line. There. Fold this over, fold this down. What I'm going to do, I can put this away now. I'm going to ink this right away. Oops. Around the corners. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a big thunderstorm happening right now. It's pretty much in the distance. It's not very close. If it comes closer, I may have to turn the camera off, but right now it's okay. And it's raining like crazy. So you can probably hear that. I don't know what happened to my glue. I took it outside yesterday and it was pretty hot, so I'm thinking I may have heard it a little bit. And then we fold this over and over, and now I have some library pockets. And you don't need super heavy paper for library pockets because you're folding them over each other. So, you know, just a little bit heavier than regular copy paper. So I use 32-pound copy paper. So it's a little bit heavier and sturdier, but it doesn't make it, it's still really easy to fold it. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and I have a couple more here. 4, 5. So what am I going to do with them? Because, you know, like some of them are actually really pretty already. But so this one I may just leave alone because this one is just absolutely beautiful. That is how the paper die came out. These, however, I will do some decorating on. So I'm going to put these two aside for now. I want to work on these two. So what I have to decorate them with is I grabbed some of my napkins. I really love this hydrangea one with the butterflies, and I can probably get both library pockets out of 1/4 of that napkin. And let me show you how I do that. I need a water brush. You can cut it as well, but I find that if you're using a water brush, you get a much nicer cut. If you don't have a water brush, you can just grab a paintbrush with a really fine tip, dip it in some water, and just do the exact same thing. So then you just go, da, 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 just go right along the line, and then you can separate it. And it's okay. I got the bottom pocket wet a little bit. That's okay. So then you just go along and just create a line, and then you can take just 1/4 of the napkin because it's the same pattern multiple times. So what I want to do now is I want to take out the elements here. And I am going to zoom you in so you can see what I am going to be doing. I'm going to put the pockets aside because it's going to be a little bit of a wet mess. So with a water brush, it's of course super easy. You just go around like that. And you don't have to be totally precise with it because actually the rougher the edges, the more it disappears into your paper. So I just go around, and I am being really cautious here because I also want to use that butterfly. So I'm kind of going a little bit further around the butterfly. And I'm just taking the hydrangea right out of here. Like that. Just kind of carefully tearing it out. Like that. And then I have the butterflies left. And right here, I can go like this. And I have the hydrangea completely cut out, and it's much easier down working with scissors. Plus, you're almost guaranteed to not be able to see the lines from the napkin. So that's my hydrangea. I'm going to do the same thing with the dragonfly here and just go around it. And again, being super cautious around the butterflies, because that will be my next element that I want to use in here. So when you're trying to cut the little bit smaller pieces, it's a little trickier because, like, especially like right here where the tail from the dragonfly is, like, it's a little bit more particular on where you're doing the cutting. So then I am going to do the butterflies pretty much in one cut. So I'm just going to go around like this and take away all the napkin that I don't want. And how much easier is that than your your napkins out with scissors? And this is all that I have left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put matte medium right here onto my pocket, and it is going to soak it up really hard because it's pretty dry paper. After you dye it and everything, it becomes a little dry. And I'm going to take the hydrangea, and I need a little bit more right here. There. Let's just cover the whole thing. There. And then I just lay this right on here, just like that. And then I'm going to go over with the matte medium again and making sure that all the little bits and pieces are well attached. And you are going to get wrinkles. It is perfectly fine. So I just keep going and I keep applying matte medium so that it is completely stuck to the bottom. And here and there it didn't stick to the base, so I had to put a little bit more matte medium under there. Right there. There's another little hole, so then I just have to lift it up. And I'm tearing it. I know I am tearing it. I can see it. But I do want it to be flat. So that's why I have to lift it back up. Put a little bit more right here. And we'll just line this all back up. You'll pretty much not be able to see that what I did. There. Fixed. Is there another one right there? There's another bubble right there. And one right there as well. That's what I'm trying to prevent, is the bubbles, because when you have bubbles, then it won't stick very nicely, and then it's really hard to go over it with paints or anything else that you want to do. So that's why I am making sure that everything is adhering well. Oops. There we go. And then I'm not cutting this off at all. I am just kind of working this so that I can slide it behind, maybe, if it wants to, right there. Just slide it behind. And the same here. I'm just going to put some matte medium right here on the edge and fold this over and just carry it on. It makes for a much nicer edge than if you are cutting it at the end. I am going to take this piece and take it away because that is not going to impact anything. And then I'm just going to put some more right here. Now you can wait until it's dry, of course, to do that. I never have the patience for that. So I'm just folding this over, and then I can cut the excess off that I don't need to stick anywhere. There we go. I knew that was going to happen because, like I said, impatient. Oh no, I've made a really, really big mess now. That's okay. I can take a piece of the leaf. I can just basically, when you do something like that and you have another piece that is not used yet, just use a little bit more matte medium and then stick that other piece right over top. And it'll blend right in, just like that. And then I'll stick this to the back and stick it down. There we go. I'm going to stand this upside down. Like so that it can dry for a moment, and just have it stand like that. Then I have the butterflies, and I kind of want to do the same thing, but I want to put a little book page underneath it. A comic book. Let's pull a page out of a comic book. They're nice vintage comic books. Sure, I'll take that page. Why not? So then I'm just going to rip some pieces off here. And just give it a little bit. Because if I just do the butterflies, then it becomes kind of just meh. If I do a little bit more, then it looks a little different. There. And again, I'm just tearing it. I am not overly concerned. So I can take a little of this and just kind of make a bit of a collage right here. And then have the butterfly on top of that. That works. So that's put a good layer of matte medium here, right there. Then putting some matte medium onto my comic strip. It will make it stick a little bit better. There, I can stick that right on there. And then we'll go over it and make sure that there is no air bubbles anywhere. And we'll do the same with the book page. So covering a nice bit with the matte medium and then putting some matte medium on here as well. I have lots on my brush. It is very saturated, so just taking it off. There we go. Stick this right on here. And then we'll go over this again with the matte medium so that it fuses the two or the three pieces together. Now I'm going to take a big chunk of, or a big gulp of matte medium again, big blob, and just putting it all over. And then we can lay the butterflies right in there. And just go over it. And you know, you don't have to be super careful with them. You do have to be careful with them, but not super careful. You want to put a little bit of pressure on there so that they do go into the matte medium and that they are totally stuck down. And the cool thing is that the napkin, the whiter the napkin, the more translucent it becomes. So this is actually a terrible example because it is not that translucent. If I were to do something with this napkin, for example, the flowers would almost look like they are on top of it. There we go. We have the butterflies on there. And I'll let that dry. And then I have the dragonfly left. And I want the dragonfly to be kind of like so. And I want a full page or a full piece of book page behind there. So I may actually glue the book page to here. And I'm just going so that most of it is covered, but it doesn't have to be totally covered. So I'm just putting glue. I'm just gluing it down right now so that the book page is attached. And because I don't really need to use my matte medium for that, just using glue, giving it a good layer of glue. Okay. And then I'm just sticking the book page straight on here, just like that. And I'm grabbing my bone folder and just making sure that the glue is well spread through so that we don't get bubbling. And this way you're kind of spreading the glue out without having to spread the glue out on your with like on the page itself. So it attaches really nicely. So in this case I am cutting it nice and tight. There we go. And then I want to put this over top of it. So I'm just putting matte medium all the way over here again. Sticking the dragonfly right down. And very, very carefully, because there's a lot of loose pieces, tapping it down and attaching it. And everywhere there's like the lighter colors, you can see the book page shining through. I am going to put a little bit of matte medium here, glue that back, and there we go. Right, so these three are now completely dry. Are they? Yeah, completely dry. There's just dampness in the air. Um, and what I want to do with them now, because yes, pretty, right? I can throw them. You can take them. You can just put them in your journal and be ta-da done. Easy peasy. Um, but I want to enhance it just a little because why not? So I'm going to take my watercolors and I'm going to give it a little bit more pizzazz. Okay, can we see? Can we pull this forward a bit? There we go. There, now you can see what I'm going to do. So I want to use a mop brush. I have a small mop brush. And I'm going to pick out the colors. So the hydrangea, of course, has more purples. So I'm just going to pick up some purple, light purple watercolors and just put it over top. Give it a bit of a wash here and there. I'm just using some purples in different shades, coloring in the background behind the napkin. And I am also framing it and making sure that there's just more than just napkin on the library pocket. It gives much more interest to the whole project. The other thing that I am doing is giving it some blue just to bring out the color of the hydrangeas just a little bit more and not have it be so bright and napkin looking. I'm also adding in a little bit of magenta. And because it is watercolors and they are translucent, so the napkin is actually going to show through once it is dry. but it gives that little bit of extra color. For the butterfly, or the dragonfly, pardon me, I decided that I was going to give it a bit of a greenish yellow background. So I am using an olive green watercolor paint mixed with some grass green and some darker green as well. So it's just adding color to the page, mostly for interest and mostly to not have it be so beige and blah. And the butterfly we do a little bit different. And what I want to do is I want to see if maybe I can use some frosted crystal on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put grab a paintbrush, have a paintbrush, thin paintbrush right here that I have been using for my microglaze. So I'm taking some of the microglaze, and you can use Vaseline for this as well. Vaseline will work, or if you have a dauber, an embossing dauber, and you can open that up, and you can take some of the embossing fluid, because you do want to be pretty precise with where you're putting your medium. So I'm just going over this and just the wings. I'm only doing the wings. I may do something different with the body, but right now this is what I'm doing for the wings. And this technique I learned from Louise Heinzel. Danger, danger, always dangerous watching her videos, because I love working with mixed media, and when I see a new technique, I have to try it. I don't know, are you guys like that too? You have to try all the different techniques. Okay. So I'm doing both at the same time. I don't know if that is going to be the detriment, but let's just try it. So all I'm doing right now is creating a sticky part, like making the wings sticky so that the embossing powder that I'm going to sprinkle on it will stay. That's what I'm doing. Okay. So I'm that far. Then I need a sheet of paper that I can put down under my thing to catch the embossing powder. And then I'm taking my frosted crystal. I just got it like 2 weeks ago, last week. I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And I'm just pouring that on here and then tapping it off. There. And pouring this back in the jar. That's all it is. And then with the frosted crystal, I don't want to just put the heat gun on it. I am going to heat it and take it away, heat it and take it away. So, okay. So the reason that you don't want to put the heat on it full blast and just leave it there like you do with regular embossing powder is because now you can feel this. It is kind of like a rough feeling. Like this is just paper feeling, but then you get the rough feeling from the crystals, from the frosted crystal. And it's really neat. It is matte, so you can't really see it, but you can feel it. So that's what I wanted to do here. And now I am going to go over this again with a little bit of a wash. But I want to use a little bit more towards the browns. Nothing overly crazy, but like more of a yellow ochre. And the butterfly has now become resistant. So I can go over it. I don't have to be super tidy. I can just go over it, and they are resistant of the watercolors. I want some of that really dark brown. I'm just dabbing some color, like just to give it a little bit more depth, a little bit more interest, and not have this glaring white book page, which isn't even white, but it just didn't look right. Okay, so these are all dry now, and but I'm not done yet. I'm just using a little bit of iridescent medium, and it just always comes flying out. And I'm just going to make the wings iridescent. Because it's a dragonfly, right? There we go. So this one, I don't know if you can see, but yeah, it is iridescent now. This one has all the different colors, and I want to enhance some of the centers. So what I want to do now is, now I just want to dress up my little library pockets. So I'm going to put a little piece of lace on there. I should have 2 pairs of scissors on my desk. Do you think they're there? No. Little itty bitty bits and pieces. And I want to use some of those really itty bitty ones to put in the centers of my flowers, of the hydrangeas. So I'm taking I've got a silicone brush, and I'm just putting some glue onto my mat, and I'm putting glue on each of the centers. Now the glue will dry clear, so it's not a big deal that I'm going over or anything like that. There's still one there. There we go. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of glue in there. Let's see if we can zoom you in just a little bit more. And then I'm just going to pick up some of these and just stick them into the glue. So there are little pearly bits that I've now put onto the centers, and once that dries, like, it'll just look a little special. It'll look prettier. I also have, I just realized, some of these that I made. They're little embellishments that I made. These were made with resin. So, but I think I want to put something like that on there with a little tuck of this lace. Or maybe I can put it right here on the lace. There we go. That works. So all I need to do is I'll just pick up the glue that is here and stick it on there. There we go. Very, very simple. Let me zoom you out. But it will be very pretty once it's completely dry. There we go. That's one. This one, I do want to use something similar, but I have some bigger embellishments here. I have some dots, and I think I want to put just a few dots on the edge. So I'm just going to put some dots of glue right there, just a few dots, and then I'm just picking up some of that glue that I put there and just sticking this in there. And I'm not picking the same colors, I want different colors on it. There we go. Very simple little embellishment, but it just finishes the pocket off really nicely. Don't need to do a whole lot else to it. That's that one. And then this one, of course, this feels like crystal now, like scaly. Of course, this feels completely different, but I want to make a body out of some of these dots. Same thing, I'm just going to put some glue right here. And a little bit of glue on my mat again, just to tap the brush into, and then I can just pick up the black dots right out of here. So there we go. We have that one done as well. Let's put, and we'll use some of this lace, put it right on this edge. Well, I have glue on my fingers, that's why everything is sticking to me. So I'm putting a little bit of glue. The lace, put it right into the glue. Cut that off. And the little bow. Of course, it's not going to stay because it's fabric to fabric. Okay, I think I have all three of them done. I'm pretty happy with that. So they're all done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Monday. don't forget to hit that subscribe button and um, go and check out my avocado dyed papers in my coffee shop. I will link them down below in the description. If you have any questions or anything that you want to discuss, the community page, of course, is always open. Um, so any comments or questions are welcome as long as they are constructive. Um, and yeah, I will post pictures of these at the end of the video. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday, and I will see you again on Wednesday. Bye.